Hey folks, welcome to TSP on the ocean. Dr. Evil here, Mrs. Evil right here.
Hi.
So we're actually on our way back to Miami from the Dominican Republic.
Yep. We're passing Cuba right now.
Yeah.
We'll post that up
So
you can
somehow it's in our backdrop, even though you can't really see it on the horizon.
See it, but we're passing Cuba.
Yeah. And so, we wanted to bring you a little bit of the ocean. A lot of you guys have supported the platform for a long time. And we just kind of wanted to talk about some of our experiences on the boat. Obviously, we're big fans of Coheed and Cambria, if you could not see already. So, they played a couple of shows already. We were at the second show. They kind of split up the fans that came on this cruise and supported the band. They split them in half so that they can get everybody an opportunity to see the band. Later today, they're going to be playing on the deck for everybody that can, I guess, fit on the deck. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
It was a really eye-opening experience. We had bad weather and bad Wi-Fi on the way to the Dominican Republic, and we had some pretty interesting experiences while we were on the island.
Cue the song "Get Off the Island." We forgot to play that as soon as we got back.
Well,
or as soon as we started heading back.
Most of our viewers are probably not gonna know that reference.
There will be one person maybe.
Right.
The weather was pretty rocky on the way here. Tuesday, we left on Monday. Tuesday, we were out at sea. Wednesday, we arrived in the Dominican Republic. Tuesday evening, there was a storm in the middle of the night. And I could tell because we had the shade open and I could see the lightning in the middle of the night.
Oh, wow.
That was terrifying to wake up to in the middle of the night because the boat just kept rocking.
Oh, I was knocked the fuck out.
Oh, it was rocking. We are all, two of us are first-time cruisers, so.
Yeah, which would be me and you.
Yeah.
The disembodied hand. This is her second cruise, I think?
Assuming her second cruise.
Yeah, she's been on a cruise before.
We survived. I had moments where I thought this is where my life ends, and we're still alive.
Wait, when?
In the middle of the night.
Okay.
Into Wednesday.
Yeah, I was knocked the fuck out.
The boat is rocking, and I could see the lightning in the distance, and I was like, this is how they do it in the movies.
I thought that I would probably be like man overboard or barf overboard. It did, the rocking was pretty unnerving, but I got used to it.
Yeah,
I got used to it pretty quickly. And like a lot of the other fans were kind of talking on social media about sea legs, and when we got to DR, I was fine. I didn't feel like that. Remember when we went whale watching some years ago? I felt that sea legs kind of feeling for a while, but when we made it to the mainland, I didn't feel it.
I felt sea legs when I went kayaking with Thing 2. And we were kayaking for maybe 40 minutes.
AKA the disembodied hand.
The disembodied hand.
Yeah.
The sun isn't shining as much. I have to squint my eyes.
Yeah.
No sea legs. We made it safely, and it's been excellent so far.
Yeah, we're trying to get this ocean backdrop for you guys, as you can kind of see the water going by.
The room that we booked is one with a balcony.
Yeah.
We splurged on it.
Yep.
We figured, why not? It's
definitely worth it.
Why not enjoy ourselves?
Because I do think that our room is the size of a prison cell.
Our room is very small.
And this is the lady right here that was like, oh my God, tiny house, tiny house. I mentioned it. She was like, hell no.
No tiny house.
So I think her love affair with the tiny house has officially ended with this experience.
I am okay. But I figure we're not going to be in the room very often anyway, but I'm glad we got this.
It didn't bother me at all. The size of the room doesn't bother me at all.
It's tiny.
In fact, I think I'm more amenable.
We're not in the room very much anyway.
So she was the tiny house lover before this. I'm more open to it now than I was before, and she's less open to it now. So it's really weird. You want to talk a little bit about your experience on the island?
I thought that was wonderful, a little sad, but I enjoyed myself anyway. So the shore excursion that we purchased was a buggy, ATV activity plus horseback riding and beach. You get to do all of that while you're on the island. So they drove us up to like this ranch or this rum distillery, or
where I think it's a country club owned by
country club. Yes.
The spirits manufacturer distributor that pretty much owns a large part of the area that we went to.
Right. So they have their own horses on land. They're at the country club. So that was the first activity we did, was horseback riding. We'll post that up so you could see it. Yeah. You could see him on his horse. His horse's name was Rambo. Mine was Negrito. And Disembodies Hand's horse was named Negrita. They were adorable horses. So that was nice. My thighs were killing me after that. And then the ATV ride, we got nice and muddy. Supposed to see photos of that, where we looked like we're ready to rob a bank.
I was the least muddy of everybody.
My arm was just covered in mud.
And I tried to drive very carefully.
Mud, but I'm fine. Like, I do Spartan races.
I
enjoy playing in mud.
They were like, you can go real fast through the mud. No thanks.
Everyone else, you see the mud flying above them. We were like,
yeah, I drove. Well, see, the thing is, like, I'm a different kind of reckless. I don't like being dirty. I just don't. So, but I love driving fast. So what I did was, when everybody was splashing through all of these mud puddles and streams and stuff, what I did was I drove very carefully. I didn't want all that shit all over me. But because that created some space between us and the other riders and drivers, it allowed me a lot of time to drive very fast through uneven terrain. That was fun.
And then, because our ATV, or the ATVs just in general, do not have very responsive brakes, we nearly ended up in a ditch.
Not nearly. We ended up partially in the ditch.
Like, my side ended up in the ditch.
I was turning as hard as I could and braking as hard as I could, and it just kept sliding out.
Yes.
So they had to kind of help us out a little bit.
Oops.
So apparently the iPad and the Magic Stand and the being out where the sun was beaming.
Like literally beaming on our backs.
Yeah. And beaming on the front of the screen. Yeah, the iPad over.
That was very smart of us.
We're
so smart.
Yeah. So anyway, we were talking about the experience in
yes. Okay. So back to what we were talking about. I forgot what part that was. Anyway.
Yeah, we were talking about the fact that the land, or a lot of the areas seem to be owned by their leading distiller of spirits distiller.
Yeah. The staff were great. Especially this one little boy who worked there. He had to probably be in middle school. Yeah. And he seemed like the mechanic out of everyone in that group.
Definitely had a leader spirit.
Very much a leader spirit. Yeah. He was there with his older brother, and his older brother was the introvert of the two. But it could have been that way because his brother may not have spoken
as much English
as well as his younger brother. But his younger brother was like, "Familia!" And chatting with us. But yeah, he was great. The ATV was great. The food was delicious. Probably the best beans I've had ever. I told that to my grandmother. There was no disrespect. She didn't feel any disrespect. She was like, "Yeah, of course. I just went to DR. You ate it there instead of eating it here in America." Also,
there's probably not a whole lot of pesticides and air pollution and machines.
Yeah. So we took some awesome photos. We'll show that up. Where we landed was Taino Bay, I believe it was. So I got a nice image where it says Taino Bay, and you can see the cruise ship. Yeah. Right behind. We chose an excursion where you go away from the touristy spots of DR, which I both enjoyed and also recognized, as you said, was a dangerous option, but we went with the option that is not all sparkly and glamorous and look how luxurious this is in Dominican Republic. And I know that, it's not that way.
Yeah.
So we did drive through.
Well, we didn't know that they were going to take us, through.
Not that I knew that it was going to be away from the most touristy spot, but I didn't know that we would be driving through
so much
of the rural country and driving, past the locals where you could really see what it's like.
Yeah.
What the living conditions are like for people.
Yep. And when we're talking about the living conditions for people, we're not talking about the family that owns the country club. We're talking about everybody that doesn't own a goddamn thing.
There were a lot of like motorcycles and mopeds outside, which reminded me very much of New York with our Uber drivers.
And our bicyclists and the DoorDash guys,
which was funny. So at first it was like, there's a lot of them, but then I realized it's like New York in that regard. I was glad to have experienced it. Yeah. All of it.
I mean, for me, first time being on a horse was kind of crazy, right? But, like you kind of started to touch on it. Some of my issues are about the privilege that we have and really getting to see just how much of it we have. I think when I spoke to Captain Paul on the phone, he called it poverty porn, in that like you're driving through these places and you have these locals that are living in conditions that are much, much lower than you're used to living. And even the poorest people in our city are not living quite in these types of conditions here.
Right.
And it really did kind of make me ask some personal moral questions about my experiences in life and my perception of the world. And that's what happens when you travel. Like, you get a different perspective. And so it was an eye-opening experience. But me being able to ride the horse sounds like a lot of fun, right? But the whole time I'm on the horse, I'm like apologizing to the horse, because I'm thinking to myself, when this horse was born, it probably would not have chosen, hey, I'm going to have this weird species sitting on my back as I try to go up and down dangerous terrain. And then like, they keep the horses in like these small pens. I don't know, it's kind of like when we look at the horse-drawn carriages in New York City, and we know we've had several of those horses be maimed and having to be euthanated, and you see like how emaciated the horses are. These horses were not emaciated like the ones you see in New York City.
But they made sure to mention that the breed of horse in DR is not the same. Like, the horses are not the same as what we're probably used to in the States. In the States, our horses are much larger. Yeah. The horses that are healthy in New York, those are the police officer horses, which I like to call them. They are large horses. Yeah. You're looking up
at the officer like this.
They're beautiful horses. And, the horses in DR, they're not that large. And I don't think that breed is meant to grow as large as the ones in the States. Because I remember watching a documentary about the horses in another Latin country. I forgot where it was, not too far, Costa Rica. And that the horses that they have, they're also a smaller horse, but they're very strong horses that can handle someone being on their back, because they use them to get around and to do work.
But being able to handle, and do you think that that's like the life that these horses want to be living, with heavy humans on their back? Like, I kind of made a joke when we were on the horse. I said, in a alternate timeline or dimension, the horses are riding the humans. And I said that because I wanted people to kind of think about the kind of privilege that we have, and we should not take these things lightly. I don't think that having us on their backs would be the horses' first choice if they could make a choice. Born under those conditions. But the buggy thing was fun. I talked to you guys about the going fast over the crazy terrain. I really wanted to be reckless with that. I didn't want mud all over me, but I definitely wanted to see what it was like driving an ATV over that kind of, varied terrain. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, where you don't have to worry about pothole. It's more of like, no, you run
run
over the pothole.
Yeah.
This car can take it. This vehicle could take it.
And I think one of the reasons that our particular buggy didn't have the technical issues that some of the others did.
Oh, a lot of the buggies were stalling out in the middle of the road.
Yeah. I think part of the reason why, because remember the kid, he was constantly letting the water out, and I think that the water had gotten in the exhaust pipe or in the engine.
Because they were going through the
Right, yeah. And me, I was just like, nah, I'm not doing that. And we had no problems. I mean, the steering sucked.
Yeah, our buggy did not. Our ATV did not stall out.
Yeah, but we didn't stall out at all. So, that was pretty fun. But, it was kind of, I felt bad. I felt like I was one of these touristy people that come with all their money. I mean, we're not rich, but by comparison,
Right.
And
so we did make sure to tip where
we tipped pretty heavily
where we could. When buying coffee, we tipped
for everything. ATV, yeah.
In the gift shop, I mean, it really, really helps.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how much it helps, but I mean, maybe it helps to quell the guilty feelings a little bit.
Maybe.
But another thing that I noticed that was very, very eye-opening is the dating app situation over in DR. When I'll talk about this in a standalone video, but I want to touch on it real quick. I got more match requests within 2 hours than I normally get in, I want to say 2 or 3 years here in the States. Here in, because we're from New York City. The amount of women there that were trying to match with me was absolutely insane. And I'll talk about this in another video. But I can understand the whole passport bro movement. But I also understand too that just like the locals that worked at the ranch, at the country club, and the people that worked in the different places, I can get why people who criticize the passport board say, "Oh, they don't really like you. They're not really into you." I could definitely understand exactly what that entails. Normally, people are not telling guys this for their own good. They're telling them because they want them to limit their options so that they can settle for one of these masculine and physically unattractive women that we find here, because those are the only ones complaining about passport pros. So I'll talk about that in a future video, but it was definitely something that I noticed. I think I got pretty close. I'll do it like a count, but I'm pretty sure I was somewhere in between the 70 and 100 match requests in just the span of a couple to a few hours.
Yeah.
I think even right now I'm still getting notifications because we're on the ocean. My location is not updating at the time of us making this video, so this still shows me in the DR, and like the match requests are coming in like crazy. So, and I'll talk about that later, but it's just, to me, us driving through some of the poorer areas, and the guys that worked on the ranch where obviously the people that own it are very wealthy. They were saying the minimum wage is like $250 a month. So to me it's all related.
Yeah.
Thing
too, did notice, so they had a photographer there. I think he worked for the country club. I don't think he worked for Norwegian. We're cruising on Norwegian cruise line, but he had a good camera. He was taking photos throughout the entire time, and of course he's going to ask if we want to purchase a package.
And whatever the price he said, you was like, yeah.
I was ready to pay as soon as I saw that they were photos. I was like, I want these photos.
Right. But you know what I thought?
She noticed that he looked a little surprised when I was like, yes.
Yeah. You know why? Because I got the feeling that because it was very obvious that we're English speaking, non-Spanish speaking. Sorry, I had to out you.
No, my Spanish is terrible. I'm Puerto Rican, but my Spanish is terrible. I know.
I got the feeling that they added extra cost because we are foreigners and it looks like we have the money. I didn't have a problem with that at all. Like, I really thought about, what if how would I feel if I knew that they were trying? Because the hot dog guys, at Central Park South, they'll charge $5 for a hot dog to somebody visiting New York, and then if they know there's a real New Yorker, they'll charge like $2 or whatever. They'll charge a much lower rate because they know that we know what the price is supposed to be.
Well, when we bought coffee on the at the resort, like where the pier is, where the cruise ship is, that was really expensive. But I tipped the lady anyway because we're gonna tip everybody. That price, I was like, holy shit! But I wanted to try some coffee, and we bought it anyway. But the price for the photos, he could have quoted me
anything.
I would have said yes.
Yeah,
because these are the photos that I wanted.
Right.
And he did an excellent job.
Yeah, pretty good photos. You guys will see them if they're not already, if you haven't already seen them by this point in the video. So yeah, a very eye-opening experience. Like I said, the band, was great. The bands that played, that I saw, that I heard, were nice. Me being able to lift weights in the ocean it just blows my mind because of where I'm from and the things that I've experienced. And you know my story. Some of you guys that are loyal fans of TSP, you guys know where I came from and where I was living just 20 years ago. So for us to be in one of the most expensive cabins with the view that you guys saw, and going on these excursions, and eating all this fancy food, and me meeting the people that I met, it is not lost on me how privileged that I am, and I'm deeply grateful for everything. Obviously starting with you, because you remember where I was when we met. You know what I mean? And for us to get where we are today is quite insane. Now, the highlight for me on this trip is I was able to pass a business card to the drummer of my favorite band.
Yes, you did.
And it's funny, when we went to take pictures with him, he was like, dude, I want to look like you. And I'm like,
here you go.
And I'm like, I'll get that information. He's like, please do. I was like, I have a business card right here. Yeah, let me, boom, here you go. That was definitely the highlight of this experience. The food on the ship, absolutely insane. But again, when you start talking about the food and you start talking about the staff, again, I'm confronted with just how privileged I am, because when you see some of the people here that work on the ship are kind of overly friendly, and then I kind of wonder, like, do they even really want to be here? But then I think, well, the alternative in their country, this is probably better. But then the conditions that they live under, because I found out from one of the other guests here, the kind of conditions that the people that work on the ship live under, I don't quite love it. And again, it's mainly because of my bias, because of me coming from super poor, abusive situations, exploitative environments that I grew up in. And so all of these things do have an effect on me. And I try to make sure that I'm courteous to everybody. And I asked them how their day is doing, not just answering the question when they ask me how my day is. Obviously, my day is great. I paid to be here, But I think that, showing respect to other human beings is so important.
Yeah, just don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Be a dude. And that's where we'll leave you off on this video here. We just wanted to kind of give you some of, just a touch of the experience that we had here. And of course, in the comment section below, you can give all of your opinions. Tell us all of your experiences of some cruises or some experiences.
Have you been on a cruise?
Yeah.
We'd love suggestions. This is our first one, and we would love to do it again. So where should we go? Yeah. And your experiences, dealing with people in other countries and some of the things that you learned about life, that is definitely something that I want to hear from the people in the comment section, because traveling is great when you're doing it for pleasure, but I think that it means a lot more when you're able to gain a more well-rounded perspective of not only the world around you, but your place in the world. It's really, really important, in my opinion. Okay,
So for TSP, I'm Dr. Evil. That's Mrs. Evil. And we'll see you back on terra firma very soon. Peace.